Hello, my name is Tyra Key, and today we're going to go over instructional design. Within the instructional design, we're going to go over five major events during the development of instructional design systems: objectivist and constructivist reviews of learning, the 2016 study, and reflection on the 2016 study. So let's get into it. First, we're going to go over the development of instructional design systems during World War II or since World War II. And we're going to touch on Sputnik, which is the indirect launching of formative evaluation, creation reference testing movement, the popularization of behavioral objectives, Gagne's domains of learning, events of instruction, and hierarchy analysis, and the interest of system approaches. So let's get started. So within the launching of Sputnik, which was the USSR missile that kind of started it all and kind of started our intelligence within the US, um, it really pointed to getting us started and kind of getting our scholars out. And within that time, they kind of started a process which would enable educators to evaluate the effectiveness of materials while they were still in their formative stages. And that kind of brought in our formative assessments and our summative assessments. So, within formative evaluation or assessment, it is typically conducted during the development of improvement or program for the course. And a formative assessment can be within observations during a class activity or homework exercises for a review for a class or the exam, and reflection journals, and so on. Within summative assessments, sorry about that, the evaluation involves making judgments about the efficiency of a program, course, or a conclusion. And that can come in the type of examinations, term papers, projects, or portfolios. Next, we have criterion reference testing movement. And this testing movement was intended to measure how well an individual can perform a particular behavior or set of behaviors, irrespective of how others perform. So, kind of using this test to assess a student at entry level behavior. And so, the cool thing about these tests is that it's not created on a curve. What your friend does, has no inkling and no reference to what you do. It's one student base. So the results of another student does not affect a student's score. And so Robert Glasser was really the first person to coin the term creation reference measurement and test kind of the entry level behaviors of it all. And so within that, um, it kind of indicated the use for this assessment in student entry. And so that is kind of what we're using at the time. Next, we're going to go into the popularization of behavioral objectives. And so Robert Major was actually the one who recognized the need for educators to learn how to write objectives and include a description of the desired learning behaviors. And within that, he kind of described the condition of which the behaviors are performed and the standards or criteria by which the behaviors need to be judged on. And within that came Bloom's taxonomy. And within Bloom's, they have the top tier, which is create or produce new original work, evaluate, which is justify or stand on a decision. It can be to judge or select or support or critique a student's work. You have analyze, which is draw connections among ideas. So, kind of organizing ideas could be like a storyboard, could be a diagram. You have apply, which is using information in new systems. You also have understand, which is explain ideas or concepts, so classifying, describing, and discussing. And then you have remembering, which is like recalling facts or regurgitating different facts. Next, we're going to go into Gagne's domains of learning and events of instruction. And so Robert Gagne kind of described five domains or types of learning outcomes, and which starts with verbal information, intellectual skills, psychomotor skills, attitudes, and cognitive strategies. And each of these are required. So he really focused that if you don't do the first step, you cannot complete the second step. So each step needs to be completed to kind of move on. And with that, you have came out of the Gage's 9 events of instruction, which are gain the attention of learners, inform the learners of the objectives, stimulate recall or prior learning, present the content, provide learning guidance, elicit performance practice, provide feedback, assess performance, and enhance retention. And within all of that, in enhancing retention. Gaines really went on to describe a hierarchy analysis process, or called learning task analysis and instructional task analysis, for identifying subordinate skills. So it is really the key feature in instructional design models, and it's kind of what we go by today. Next, we have the interesting interest of system approaches. And during the 1970s, the number of instructional design models greatly increased by almost 40. So, really, what happened is instructional design models were really popping up all over the place here. And so, I just have some important ones here. So, we have the Dick and Carey model, we have the Gillich and Ely design model, and we have the Kent model that's based on the Addy model. And the Addy model is super important because that is what we still use today. More worldwide, to kind of gather everybody together, and so most of them either kind of play off 9 stages, and that's kind of like the key number when you talk about instructional design systems. So next we're going to go into the objectivist and constructivist approaches. So with the objectivist approach, the learning process is controlled by the teacher, which also means the strategies such as instructional strategies are well defined and selective according to the domain and type of learning goals or objectives. Going into the constructivist approach, the student controls the learning process, and that means the learner lies in the complex, problem-based, and real-world task. So really using their real life, or using their real-world examples, and kind of putting it into your learning. So just going a little bit into that, obstructionist is really the learning environment is well structured and sequenced properly, while on the other hand, constructivist learning environment is flexible and more open. And in objectivist, the assessment model conducted is at the end of the instruction, while as the constructivist is the assessment is continuous, embedded in learning tasks. So it's ongoing, and you can continue to learn. What they have in common, though, is they both are evaluation based, they both have set goals, and they both require learning activities to kind of get the job done. So next we're going to go into the 2016 study. And so this study was quantitative, it's non-experimental and cross-sectional. The survey designed asked about the frequency of which the objectivist and constructionist characters were employed in the course of development by a stratified sample of instructional designers. Within this study, they came up with these 4 quadrants, which are construction, immersion, integration, and interjection. Within construction is designed in such a way that learners instructively construct their own meaning by building on their previous knowledge and experience. So taking what those students previously learned, or those educators previously learned, and creating a course from what they previously learned to kind of connect with our students. Next would be immersion. Is learning is not defined by an outside entity, nor is it placed in any given predetermined sequence. Learning experience opportunist. There's no clear evidence of a conscious effort to facilitate any opportunity for the learner to construct meaning. So basically, there is no end goal, there's no objectives. It is just seeing what the students can learn. There's no right or wrong answer. It is just making a instruction that will engage the kids and get them to be excited about learning. Next, we'll have integration, which requires goal analysis so that the essential learning outcome can be determined. So really, this one is focusing on your goals and objectives and trying to hit those goals and objectives, or those standards. Interjection would be the high in objective elements. It emphases the notion that pre-produced knowledge, skills, or attitudes are transferred into the learner as an efficient, predetermined, predestined way as possible. So really taking what the students maybe learned last week and taking that paper they did last week and now turning into a video this week, or taking that project that the students did and turning it into a play. Just really using that last or past knowledge and combining it in a way that the students can use it and hone on it. So I believe my key takeaways in all of this is instructional design is ever evolving. There is new models popping up, and old models are still good till this day. So there's over almost 100 different design models, and they all can be used in different ways. To me personally, I feel like student-centered learning is critical. In this day and age, in like 2023, everybody learns different. All students are different. I think that as long as you have structure, learning could be student-centered. And that brings me into the topic of objectiveness and constructionist views of learning can coincide. So you can take the structure of objectiveness learning, but also have it student centered, like constructionist learning. And that is just my personal opinion, and that's what I took away from this. So here are my references. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please feel free to reach out to me. Or if you just want to have a discussion about why you think student centered learning is not great or why you think it is great, I'd be happy to have them in the comments below. Thank you so much. Bye bye.